Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy Yo Crypto. In today's video, I have a special one for you guys. I finally come up with a viable budget build that new players and returning players from the Pioneer test can realistically use to progress in the game. Shoutouts to one of my viewers. He informed me that some of the lower level items were very cheap to enhance and are extremely viable to be able to progress in the game. So this is the current build that I've come up with, and I'm going to explain some of the advantages of going this build and some of the disadvantages. So the build is basically all Neophyte accessories, Necromancer Glove Overall, Zakum Weapon, Rutabiz Hat, and Balrog Shoes. So I want to talk about the advantages of going this build first. The advantages is that you can realistically progress as a free-to-play player using this build. Although it's going to be extremely slow because the nasal rates aren't that great. However, if you're willing to spend a little bit of money to get some of the gear up, it's extremely affordable. Let's take a look at the pricing across different equipments. So as you can see, my hat right here, going from 11 to 12 stars, it costs 226k, which is extremely expensive. That's something like $4 or $5 per tap. And to cube it, it costs about 107k. Now, let's compare that to a Queen Tiara and see how much it costs. As you can see, it costs only 382 NASO, which is like maybe a cent or something. And you can go all the way to 5 stars with this. So as an early game player, this is a very nice thing to have just to get a little bit more power. But the interesting part is looking at how much it costs to potential, because in the early game, potentials give you more damage in the early game than star forcing does. And as you can see here, it only costs 10k NASO per cube. That's about a 90k difference. And all the items are going to be cheaper than their meta counterparts. So the second advantage I want to talk about is if you so happen to if you have a legendary hat and you are starting to cube with the red cubes, which is very cheap, and you happen to hit a 3-line potential that isn't from your class, you can resell that item and flip it for a much higher price than probably what you rolled for, and then reinvest that money into your whole account or buy another hat, do whatever you want with it. The other advantage we have is that most of these items, every single class can use them. Now, the third thing that I want to talk about is that you can use a mixed set still and use some of the Neophyte items as a budget alternative. So when we look at the stats that the whole boss set gives, as you can see, it's only 10% boss and 10 attack and 100 defense and 15 all stat. It's actually not that good. It's decent, but it's nothing that is going to make you as strong as if you were to enhance your equipment instead. And also something to keep note of is that if you have a full boss set, you can unequip 2 of the items and you will still have the whole boss set. So that means you can use 2 Neophyte accessories and use those instead. So we have a lot of advantages using this build, but what are some of the disadvantages? So the biggest disadvantage from this is that yes, you are eventually capped with how strong you can get from the items. Since the star force is very limited, you're not going to be able to progress past 15 stars, and anything past 15 stars is going to give you significantly more damage than any of the star force below. However, the problem right now is that going to 15 stars on any of the meta items is extremely expensive, and realistically speaking, unless you're willing to spend thousands of dollars, then it's not something that you should be doing anyways. And if you want to enjoy this game right now, or potentially kill bosses to potentially make money, then this is a build that you should be using regardless. So the second disadvantage that some of you guys might be asking is, oh, how long can these items last for? Eventually they might become unviable. And the reason why I don't know if this is as big of a problem is because the game inherently gives you more damage in other forms. So for example, right, when 5th job comes out, that inherently gives you more damage. When Legion comes out, that gives you inherently more damage. So there are systems inside the game that will give you more damage that doesn't come from your equipment. That means that if your items are at a reasonable level, you can always progress and do bosses at the later stages of the game. Now, the third thing that I do want to talk about is that these items might not hold as much value as, of course, if you were to potential some of the higher endgame items, because the higher endgame items, they're the ones that are going to last you for a much longer time, and they're going to be the ones that give you more power boost in the future when harder content does come out. But I do want to add that even if you were to enhance all your items up to a certain point, you could either 1, sell it, or 2, you can use it on an alternative character that you want to play to maybe farm another set of bosses. The last thing I want to touch up on is the weapon. The weapon is a bit expensive right now to enhance. So the Zakum weapon is the one that I'm talking about. However, to Star Force it is very cheap, and this one goes all the way up to 10 stars. So even if you were only to Star Force this up to 10 stars and to potential it so you can get a 2% or a 3% attack line, it will be good enough for the amount it costs to power up. So yeah, that's it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. And if you want more MapleStory end guides, make sure to follow along. I got a lot more guides coming through.